The day begins before the world gets loud. This quiet moment matters. Starting your day with God sets the tone for peace. It calms your thoughts and centers your heart. Morning prayer invites God into every step ahead. When you wake up with prayer, fear loses its grip. Anxiety does not get the first word. God's presence becomes your foundation. His peace flows before problems appear. This is how spiritual strength is built daily. A morning prayer is not about perfect words. It is about surrender. It is about trusting God with the unknown. When you give Him your morning, you give Him your worries. That exchange brings deep peace. This daily habit grows faith over time. It aligns your spirit with God's will. It prepares your mind for challenges. Starting your day with God is a powerful spiritual reset. Morning prayer opens your heart to divine guidance. Before decisions are made, God leads you. His wisdom shapes your choices. This is why prayer brings clarity early in the day. Life moves fast, but prayer slows the soul. It reminds you that God is in control. When you pray at sunrise, you release pressure. You stop carrying burdens alone. God's peace does not depend on circumstances. It flows from trust. Morning prayer strengthens that trust. It helps you walk confidently even when answers are unclear. Starting the day with prayer builds spiritual awareness. You become more patient. You respond with grace. God's presence becomes active in your thoughts and actions. Morning prayer invites God's protection. It places a spiritual covering over your life. You step into the day guarded by faith. This brings comfort and confidence. Protection is not just physical, it is emotional and spiritual. Prayer shields your heart from fear. It guards your mind from negative thoughts. God's protection works in unseen ways. When you pray in the morning, you acknowledge dependence on God. You admit you cannot do life alone. That humility opens the door for divine help. God's protection brings rest to the soul. You no longer expect the worst. You trust God to guide you safely. This trust brings lasting peace throughout the day. Joy begins in God's presence. Morning prayer reconnects you to that joy. It reminds you of God's promises. His joy becomes your strength. Joy is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of God. When you pray early, you anchor your heart in truth. This protects your joy from being stolen. Prayer shifts your focus from stress to gratitude. It helps you see blessings clearly. Even small moments become meaningful when God leads your heart. A joyful morning creates a resilient spirit. You face the day with hope. God's joy lifts your mood. It renews your inner strength. Morning prayer invites alignment with God's will. It helps you release control. You stop forcing outcomes. You start trusting God's plan. Alignment brings peace because it removes resistance. When your will rests in God's hands, pressure fades. Prayer becomes a moment of surrender. God's plan unfolds step by step. Morning prayer prepares you to walk patiently. It teaches you to wait with faith. It builds endurance. Living aligned with God brings purpose. Your actions gain meaning. Your day feels guided, not rushed. Prayer becomes the compass for your life. Starting the day with God creates inner stability. Before distractions arrive, your spirit is grounded. This grounding keeps emotions steady. It helps you face tasks without panic or stress. Morning prayer calms racing thoughts. It slows the mind gently. God's presence replaces confusion with peace. This mental clarity improves focus and decision-making. Stress often comes from uncertainty. Prayer reminds you that God already sees the outcome. Trust replaces worry. Peace becomes your natural response. A stable heart leads to a productive day. You react less and reflect more. God's peace shapes your attitude. This strength carries you forward. Prayer at the start of the day renews faith. It reconnects you with God's power. Faith grows when you choose prayer before pressure. Morning faith builds confidence. You walk knowing God is with you. Fear loses authority. Courage rises quietly within your heart. Faith does not remove challenges. It changes how you face them. Prayer reminds you that God fights unseen battles. This brings reassurance. A faith-filled morning leads to spiritual endurance. You remain hopeful longer. God's presence sustains you. Trust becomes your daily anchor. Morning prayer invites gratitude into your life. It helps you notice blessings early. Gratitude shifts your mindset from lack to abundance. Thankfulness opens the heart. It softens hard emotions. When you thank God in the morning, joy grows naturally. Peace follows gratitude. Gratitude strengthens spiritual awareness. You recognize God's hand in small moments. This awareness increases faith. It deepens trust. A grateful heart changes the day's outcome. You complain less. You appreciate more. God's goodness becomes clearer throughout the day. Morning prayer helps release emotional weight. Burdens carried overnight are lifted. God invites you to let go. This release brings relief. Prayer allows honesty with God. You can speak freely. He listens without judgment. This emotional safety heals the heart. Letting go is not weakness, it is trust. When you release control, God provides peace. Your soul rests in His care. Emotional freedom improves spiritual health. You breathe easier. You move lighter. God's peace becomes your emotional shield. Starting the day with God strengthens spiritual discipline. Consistency builds depth. Daily prayer shapes character over time. Discipline creates stability and faith. It keeps you connected, even on difficult days. Prayer becomes a constant source of strength. Morning prayer trains the heart to seek God first. Priorities shift naturally. Spiritual growth becomes steady and intentional. A disciplined prayer life brings lasting transformation. Faith matures. Trust deepens. God's presence becomes central to everyday life. Morning prayer sharpens spiritual awareness. It helps you sense God's guidance throughout the day. This awareness keeps you aligned with truth. When you pray early, your heart becomes sensitive. You notice gentle prompts. God speaks through peace and clarity. This connection grows stronger daily. Spiritual awareness protects you from negative influences. It helps you pause before reacting. Prayer creates space for wisdom to lead. A spiritually aware life feels guided. You walk with intention. God's presence shapes your responses. Peace becomes consistent. Prayer in the morning invites divine strength. It prepares you for challenges ahead. God provides energy beyond physical effort. Strength from God is quiet but powerful. It steadies you when pressure rises. Prayer activates this inner support system. Facing the day without prayer feels heavy. With prayer, weight lifts. God's strength carries what you cannot handle alone. Divine strength builds endurance. You remain steady longer. God renews you throughout the day. Faith sustains your pace. Morning prayer clears mental fog. It organizes thoughts gently. God brings clarity where confusion once lived. Clarity improves judgment. You think calmly. Decisions feel less forced. Prayer guides your thinking process. A clear mind resists distraction. You stay focused on what matters. God helps you prioritize wisely. Mental clarity creates peace. You stop overthinking. Trust replaces doubt. God's guidance becomes evident. Prayer invites emotional balance. It keeps feelings from ruling actions. God steadies the heart early. Emotional balance reduces conflict. You respond thoughtfully. Prayer creates patience within. Balanced emotions support healthy relationships. You communicate with grace. God softens your words. A calm heart handles stress better. You remain composed. God's peace shapes your emotional life. Morning prayer opens the door to hope. It reminds you that today holds purpose. God is already at work. Hope strengthens perseverance. It keeps you moving forward. Prayer fuels this hopeful mindset. Even difficult mornings feel lighter with prayer. God renews optimism. Faith rises naturally. Hope transforms the day. You expect good. You trust God's plan. Peace follows expectation. Morning prayer creates inner direction. Before the world demands answers, God provides guidance. This direction removes confusion and restores confidence. You begin the day knowing you are not walking blindly. When you pray early, your heart becomes settled. You stop rushing mentally. God brings order to scattered thoughts. This calm direction helps you move with purpose instead of pressure. Direction from God does not always come as loud instruction. Often it arrives as peace. Prayer helps you recognize that peace and trust it. This awareness keeps you from second-guessing every step. A directed life feels lighter. You waste less energy worrying. God's guidance keeps you focused. Each action feels intentional and meaningful. Morning prayer invites renewal. Sleep may rest the body, but prayer restores the soul. God refreshes what stress has drained. This renewal prepares you for the day ahead. Renewal begins with surrender. You release yesterday's weight. God replaces it with fresh strength. Prayer becomes a moment of spiritual breathing. When the soul is renewed, motivation returns. Hope rises again. Prayer helps you reset emotionally and spiritually. This reset changes how you approach the day. Daily renewal builds resilience. You recover faster from challenges. God continually restores your inner strength. Peace becomes sustainable, not temporary. Prayer at the start of the day builds trust. Trust grows when you choose God first. This choice reshapes your mindset gradually. Trust removes the need to control everything. Prayer teaches patience. God reminds you that timing matters. Peace flows when trust replaces urgency. A trusting heart rests even while working. You stay calm under pressure. Prayer reinforces confidence in God's care. Fear slowly loses power. Living with trust improves spiritual stability. You react less emotionally. God's faithfulness becomes more visible. Inner peace deepens daily. Morning prayer strengthens patience. It slows impulsive reactions. God teaches waiting through quiet moments of prayer. Patience does not mean inactivity. It means calm action. Prayer helps you move wisely instead of hurriedly. This balance protects peace. When patience grows, frustration fades. Prayer reminds you that growth takes time. God works beyond what you can see. A patient spirit handles delays better. You remain hopeful. God's timing becomes easier to accept. Peace replaces restlessness. Starting the day with God encourages humility. Prayer reminds you of dependence. This humility opens the door for grace. Humility removes pride-driven stress. You stop trying to prove everything. Prayer shifts focus toward trust and obedience. God responds to humble hearts. Peace follows surrender. Prayer softens resistance and builds openness. A humble spirit learns faster. You listen more. God's wisdom guides your steps. This leads to lasting spiritual growth. Morning prayer invites divine peace into hidden places of the heart. Some worries sit quietly beneath the surface. God brings them into light gently. This healing begins with prayer. Peace from God does not rush. It settles slowly. Prayer allows the heart to relax. Tension fades without effort. Hidden fears often shape daily behavior. Prayer weakens their hold. God replaces fear with reassurance. Confidence grows naturally. When peace fills the inner space, the day feels lighter. You move freely. God's calm presence stays with you. Inner healing continues quietly. Prayer at dawn strengthens spiritual confidence. You remember who leads your life? God's authority becomes clear. Confidence rooted in God is stable. It does not depend on outcomes. Prayer builds this confidence daily. Trust replaces doubt. When confidence grows, fear retreats. You stop expecting failure. God's promises feel closer and real. A confident spirit walks calmly. You face tasks with assurance. God's presence supports every step. Peace sustains momentum. Morning prayer helps release guilt. Lingering regret can burden the soul. God offers forgiveness freely. Prayer opens the heart to receive it. Forgiveness brings relief. Shame loosens its grip. Prayer restores dignity. God lifts emotional weight. When guilt fades, clarity returns. You think more freely. Prayer renews self-worth through grace. A forgiven heart moves forward. You stop replaying the past. God's mercy shapes a peaceful present. Prayer, early in the day, builds emotional resilience. It prepares you for unexpected moments. God strengthens emotional balance. Resilience is not hardness. It is flexibility. Prayer helps emotions bend without breaking. Calm replaces overwhelm. With prayer, setbacks feel manageable. God reminds you that moments pass. Hope stays anchored. An emotionally resilient spirit recovers faster. You stay steady. God's peace becomes your emotional foundation. Morning prayer sharpens discernment. It helps you sense what aligns with God. This awareness protects your peace. Discernment prevents unnecessary struggle. Prayer helps you recognize distractions early. God guides wise choices. When discernment grows, confusion decreases. You feel less conflicted. Prayer clears inner signals. A discerning heart walks confidently. You trust God's direction. Peace follows obedience naturally. Prayer invites spiritual covering over daily interactions. Words spoken later are shaped early. God guards conversations. Protection in prayer reduces conflict. You respond thoughtfully. God softens reactions before they form. Prayer also shields emotions. Harsh words lose power. God keeps your heart steady. Covered interactions feel lighter. You communicate calmly. God's peace flows through relationships. Morning prayer creates space for listening. Silence becomes meaningful. God speaks through stillness. Listening requires slowing down. Prayer helps quiet internal noise. God's voice becomes clearer. When you listen, guidance increases. Prayer reveals subtle direction. Peace confirms the path. A listening heart grows wise. You pause before acting. God's peace shapes decisions. Prayer strengthens spiritual identity. You remember who you belong to. God's truth grounds your sense of self. Identity rooted in God resists comparison. Prayer removes insecurity. Confidence stabilizes internally. When identity is clear, pressure decreases. You stop seeking approval. God's acceptance satisfies deeply. A secure identity brings peace. You walk without fear. God's presence defines your worth. Morning prayer reduces inner noise. Thoughts slow down. God organizes mental clutter. Mental quiet allows insight. Prayer creates mental rest. God brings focus naturally. When the mind rests, creativity improves. Prayer opens space for new ideas. Clarity returns gently. A quiet mind handles stress better. You feel less rushed. God's peace governs your thoughts. Prayer builds consistency in faith. Daily connection strengthens trust. God becomes central to routine. Consistency removes spiritual dryness. Prayer keeps faith active. God renews commitment daily. Over time, consistency produces depth. Faith matures quietly. Prayer sustains growth. A consistent prayer life brings stability. You remain grounded. God's peace becomes dependable. Morning prayer prepares the heart for kindness. It softens attitudes. God reshapes intentions. Kindness begins internally. Prayer changes perspective. God increases compassion. When kindness flows, tension decreases. Relationships improve. Prayer shapes gentle responses. A kind spirit experiences peace. You interact calmly. God's love reflects outward. Prayer invites patience with yourself. Unrealistic expectations fade. God encourages grace. Self-patience heals inner pressure. Prayer reduces self-criticism. God nurtures acceptance. When you allow grace, growth feels safer. Prayer supports progress. Peace replaces self-judgment. A gentle inner voice creates stability. You move forward calmly. God's peace sustains learning. Morning prayer increases emotional awareness. You recognize feelings early. God helps process them wisely. Awareness prevents emotional buildup. Prayer encourages honesty. God meets you where you are. Processing emotions brings relief. Prayer allows release. God restores balance. An emotionally aware heart feels lighter. You respond intentionally. Peace grows steadily. Prayer invites courage into the day. Fear shrinks in God's presence. Strength rises quietly. Courage does not remove risk. Prayer provides confidence. God supports each step. When courage grows, avoidance fades. You face challenges calmly. Prayer stabilizes resolve. A courageous spirit feels free. You act with faith. God's peace remains strong. Morning prayer restores focus on purpose. Distractions lose power. God realigns priorities. Purpose provides direction. Prayer clarifies why you move forward. God strengthens resolve. When purpose is clear, effort feels meaningful. Prayer fuels commitment. Peace follows intention. A purpose-driven day feels guided. You waste less energy. God's peace reinforces clarity. Prayer strengthens inner boundaries. It helps protect peace. God teaches when to say no. Boundaries prevent emotional exhaustion. Prayer sharpens awareness. God guards your limits. When boundaries hold, stress reduces. Prayer reinforces balance. Peace remains intact. A protected heart stays calm. You engage wisely. God's guidance preserves peace. Morning prayer cultivates trust in outcomes. You release attachment to results. God handles outcomes. Letting go reduces anxiety. Prayer shifts focus to obedience. God carries responsibility. When outcomes are trusted to God, peace follows. Prayer restores calm expectation. A surrendered heart rests easily. You stay present. God's peace deepens trust. Prayer encourages humility and success. Gratitude replaces pride. God remains central. Humility protects peace. Prayer reminds you of dependence. God keeps perspective clear. Success feels lighter with humility. Prayer prevents pressure. Peace stays balanced. A humble spirit grows steadily. You remain teachable. God's peace sustains progress. Morning prayer reduces reactionary behavior. You pause more. God creates space. Pausing changes outcome. Prayer slows impulses. God guides responses. When reactions soften, peace grows. Prayer increases wisdom. God steadies emotions. A thoughtful spirit navigates calmly. You act with intention. God's peace prevails. Prayer strengthens hope. During uncertainty, unknowns feel manageable. God reassures gently. Hope lifts the spirit. Prayer fuels expectation. God renews optimism. When hope is active, fear weakens. Prayer anchors belief. Peace remains present. A hopeful heart moves forward calmly. You trust God's plan. Peace supports endurance. Morning prayer renews motivation. Fatigue fades. God restores drive. Motivation rooted in prayer lasts longer. God supplies strength beyond effort. When motivation aligns with purpose, progress improves. Prayer sustains momentum. A motivated spirit stays focused. You persist calmly. God's peace supports consistency. Prayer enhances spiritual sensitivity. You notice subtle guidance. God directs gently. Sensitivity prevents missteps. Prayer sharpens awareness. God leads quietly. When guidance is sensed early, peace increases. Prayer reduces confusion. A sensitive spirit follows smoothly. You trust God's lead. Peace accompanies direction. Morning prayer encourages surrender of control. You stop forcing outcomes. God takes the lead. Surrender reduces pressure. Prayer invites rest. God assumes responsibility. When control loosens, peace increases. Prayer builds trust. God's plan unfolds. A surrendered heart feels free. You move calmly. God's peace surrounds you. Prayer nurtures endurance. You stay steady through long processes. God strengthens patience. Endurance grows through consistency. Prayer renews strength daily. God sustains effort. When endurance holds, discouragement fades. Prayer restores focus. Peace supports persistence. A resilient spirit continues calmly. You trust God's timing. Peace remains constant. Morning prayer deepens intimacy with God. Connection strengthens naturally. Trust becomes personal. Intimacy grows through consistency. Prayer creates closeness. God feels near. When connection deepens, peace intensifies. Prayer reinforces belonging. Fear dissolves. A connected heart rests securely. You feel supported. God's peace completes the day. Morning prayer builds inner calm before pressure appears. It prepares the heart quietly. God settles the spirit early. This calm becomes a shield throughout the day. When calm is established first, chaos has less power. Prayer slows emotional reactions. God replaces tension with assurance. Peace settles deeply. Calmness improves clarity. You hear better. You respond thoughtfully. Prayer gives space for wisdom to lead. A calm foundation changes everything. You stay steady. God's peace remains active. The day unfolds with balance. Prayer strengthens trust. In daily provision, worry about needs fades. God reminds you. He provides faithfully. Trust grows when you remember past help. Prayer brings those memories forward. God's faithfulness becomes visible again. Provision is not only material. It includes strength and wisdom. Prayer activates this understanding. Peace replaces fear. A trusting heart rests securely. You move forward confidently. God's peace assures every step. Morning prayer helps heal emotional wounds. Some pain stays hidden. God gently addresses it through prayer. Healing takes time. Prayer creates safe space. God restores the heart slowly and kindly. When healing begins, heaviness lifts. Prayer releases stored pain. God renews emotional strength. A healed heart feels lighter. You respond with compassion. God's peace flows freely. Prayer encourages self-control. Emotions no longer lead unchecked. God brings balance early. Self-control protects peace. Prayer slows impulses. God teaches restraint gently. When restraint grows, regret decreases. Prayer shapes wiser choices. Peace follows discipline. A controlled spirit feels strong. You act intentionally. God's peace supports maturity. Morning prayer increases gratitude for life itself. You recognize the gift of a new day. God renews appreciation. Gratitude shifts focus from problems. Prayer highlights blessings. God changes perspective. When gratitude grows, joy follows naturally. Prayer fuels contentment. Peace expands. A thankful heart feels rich. You notice goodness. God's peace deepens satisfaction. Prayer builds courage to face difficult conversations. Fear loosens its grip. God strengthens resolve. Courage rooted in prayer feels steady. You speak with grace. God guides your words. When courage is balanced with wisdom, outcomes improve. Prayer prepares the heart. Peace remains intact. A brave spirit feels free. You act with confidence. God's peace surrounds communication. Morning prayer reduces comparison. You stop measuring yourself against others. God refocuses identity. Comparison steals joy. Prayer restores contentment. God affirms your unique path. When comparison fades, peace grows. Prayer encourages acceptance. God nurtures self-worth. A secure heart moves calmly. You stay focused. God's peace protects identity. Prayer increases emotional intelligence. You recognize feelings clearly. God helps manage them wisely. Awareness prevents emotional overflow. Prayer brings understanding. God guides responses. When emotions are understood, peace improves. Prayer promotes balance. God steadies reactions. An emotionally intelligent heart navigates smoothly. You respond calmly. Peace remains present. Morning prayer strengthens discipline in habits. Small choices matter. God helps you stay consistent. Discipline grows through daily prayer. God reinforces commitment. Progress becomes steady. When habits align with values, peace increases. Prayer keeps focus. God sustains effort. A disciplined life feels organized. You stay balanced. God's peace supports growth. Prayer prepares the heart for unexpected changes. Flexibility increases. God reassures stability. Change feels less threatening with prayer. God remains constant. Peace holds steady. When plans shift, prayer restores trust. God guides adjustments. Calm replaces panic. A flexible spirit adapts easily. You remain grounded. God's peace endures change. Morning prayer deepens patience with others. Judgment softens. God increases compassion. Patience reduces conflict. Prayer changes perspective. God teaches empathy. When patience grows, relationships improve. Prayer nurtures understanding. Peace strengthens bonds. A patient heart listens well. You respond kindly. God's peace flows outward. Prayer increases awareness of blessings ahead. Expectation rises. God prepares good things. Hope grows through prayer. God encourages anticipation. Peace builds quietly. When expectation is healthy, motivation improves. Prayer fuels optimism. God sustains joy. A hopeful heart walks confidently. You trust forward. Peace accompanies faith. Morning prayer strengthens spiritual consistency. Faith becomes routine. God stays central. Consistency prevents drift. Prayer anchors belief. God renews focus daily. When faith remains steady, peace stabilizes. Prayer supports commitment. God sustains devotion. A consistent spirit feels secure. You remain grounded. God's peace lasts. Prayer encourages rest in God's timing. Hurry fades. God teaches patience. Resting in timing reduces anxiety. Prayer calms urgency. God reassures progress. When timing is trusted, peace increases. Prayer removes pressure. God aligns steps. A rested heart moves calmly. You wait confidently. God's peace remains strong. Morning prayer strengthens inner joy. Joy rises quietly. God refreshes the spirit. Joy, rooted in prayer, lasts longer. God sustains gladness. Peace supports happiness. When joy leads, negativity fades. Prayer nurtures optimism. God renews outlook. A joyful heart feels light. You smile inwardly. God's peace radiates. Prayer sharpens moral clarity. Right choices become clearer. God guides conscience. Clarity prevents regret. Prayer supports integrity. God strengthens resolve. When values align, peace increases. Prayer keeps direction steady. God reinforces truth. A principled heart feels calm. You act confidently. God's peace affirms choices. Morning prayer invites courage to let go. Old burdens loosen. God encourages release. Letting go heals the soul. Prayer allows surrender. God restores peace. When release happens, freedom follows. Prayer lightens the heart. God renews strength. A free spirit moves easily. You breathe deeper. God's peace remains. Prayer builds resilience against discouragement. Hope stays alive. God renews perspective. Discouragement weakens focus. Prayer restores vision. God lifts the spirit. When hope is renewed, energy returns. Prayer fuels persistence. Peace strengthens resolve. A resilient heart endures calmly. You continue forward. God's peace supports effort. Morning prayer nurtures inner security. Fear of loss fades. God assures presence. Security rooted in God feels stable. Prayer reinforces trust. Peace settles deeply. When security grows, anxiety decreases. Prayer removes fear. God strengthens confidence. A secure spirit feels safe. You move calmly. God's peace surrounds you. Prayer prepares the heart for service. Self-centeredness fades. God increases willingness. Service flows from prayer. God shapes intentions. Peace motivates action. When serving with the right heart, joy increases. Prayer aligns purpose. God sustains energy. A serving spirit feels fulfilled. You give freely. God's peace multiplies. Morning prayer strengthens awareness of God's presence. You feel accompanied. God feels near. Presence brings comfort. Prayer reminds you that you are not alone. Peace grows stronger. When awareness stays active, fear weakens. Prayer reinforces connection. God supports each step. A present-minded heart rests easily. You walk confidently. God's peace remains. Prayer builds endurance for long goals. Short-term frustration fades. God renews patience. Endurance grows with trust. Prayer sustains effort. God strengthens resolve. When endurance holds, peace remains steady. Prayer prevents burnout. God restores balance. A steady spirit continues calmly. You trust progress. God's peace sustains you. Morning prayer increases openness to learning. Pride softens. God teaches gently. Learning requires humility. Prayer invites growth. God expands understanding. When learning continues, wisdom increases. Prayer supports development. Peace follows insight. A teachable heart grows steadily. You adapt calmly. God's peace guides growth. Prayer nurtures contentment. Desire for more quiet. God satisfies the heart. Contentment brings peace. Prayer shifts focus. God provides enough. When contentment grows, joy stabilizes. Prayer deepens gratitude. Peace becomes constant. A satisfied heart rests well. You enjoy now. God's peace remains. Morning prayer strengthens trust in daily steps. You stop worrying ahead. God leads moment by moment. Trust simplifies life. Prayer keeps attention present. God guides gently. When focus stays present, peace increases. Prayer removes future fear. God reassures. A trusting heart walks calmly. You follow confidently. God's peace stays with you. Morning prayer strengthens inner peace before the day unfolds. It settles the heart gently. God quiets internal resistance. This calm shapes how you face everything ahead. Peace gained early prevents emotional overload. Prayer anchors the soul. God keeps you centered when pressure rises. When peace leads the morning, reactions soften. Prayer slows responses. God teaches calm strength. A peaceful beginning influences the entire day. You stay composed. God's presence sustains balance. Prayer builds confidence in God's guidance. You stop doubting every step. God reassures direction. Confidence formed in prayer is steady. It does not rely on approval. God's guidance becomes enough. When confidence grows, hesitation fades. Prayer removes second guessing. Peace supports action. A confident heart moves forward. Calmly, you trust decisions. God's peace reinforces clarity. Morning prayer restores emotional alignment. Feelings fall into order. God stabilizes the heart. Misaligned emotions cause confusion. Prayer realigns priorities. God brings inner harmony. When alignment returns, peace increases. Prayer balances joy and responsibility. God steadies emotions. A balanced heart functions well. You feel grounded. God's peace remains constant. Prayer invites spiritual protection over thoughts. Negative patterns weaken. God guards the mind. Thought protection reduces anxiety. Prayer filters mental noise. God restores clarity. When thoughts are protected, peace grows. Prayer strengthens focus. God renews perspective. A guarded mind stays calm. You think clearly. God's peace governs thought life. Morning prayer renews trust in God's timing. Impatience fades. God encourages waiting. Waiting feels easier with prayer. God reassures progress. Peace replaces frustration. When timing is trusted, stress decreases. Prayer removes urgency. God aligns steps. A patient heart remains hopeful. You stay calm. God's peace supports waiting. Prayer strengthens emotional boundaries. You absorb less negativity. God protects peace. Boundaries prevent emotional drain. Prayer sharpens awareness. God teaches discernment. When boundaries hold, calm increases. Prayer preserves balance. God sustains strength. A protected heart stays steady. You engage wisely. God's peace remains intact. Morning prayer encourages self-awareness. You recognize limits. God invites honesty. Awareness prevents burnout. Prayer helps you pause. God restores balance. When limits are respected, peace increases. Prayer guides pacing. God sustains energy. A self-aware heart stays healthy. You move steadily. God's peace supports rhythm. Prayer renews inner motivation. Weariness lifts slowly. God refreshes purpose. Motivation rooted in prayer lasts. God fuels effort. Peace accompanies progress. When purpose is clear, focus improves. Prayer strengthens direction. God sustains drive. A motivated spirit continues calmly. You stay encouraged. God's peace remains strong. Morning prayer strengthens trust in unseen work. You stop demanding immediate results. God reassures progress. Trust grows through patience. Prayer calms expectation. God works quietly. When unseen work is trusted, peace increases. Prayer removes pressure. God builds faith. A trusting heart rests deeply. You wait calmly. God's peace sustains hope. Prayer encourages emotional healing through forgiveness. Old hurts surface gently. God offers release. Forgiveness restores peace. Prayer softens resistance. God heals wounds. When forgiveness happens, freedom follows. Prayer lifts heaviness. God renews joy. A healed heart feels light. You move forward. God's peace remains. Morning prayer improves decision-making. Calm replaces confusion. God clarifies options. Clear decisions reduce stress. Prayer sharpens focus. God guides wisely. When decisions align with peace, confidence grows. Prayer confirms direction. God reassures. A decisive heart moves smoothly. You act calmly. God's peace affirms choices. Prayer strengthens gratitude for small moments. Awareness increases. God reveals blessings. Small gratitude builds big peace. Prayer changes perception. God renews joy. When appreciation grows, contentment follows. Prayer deepens thankfulness. Peace expands. A grateful heart stays joyful. You notice goodness. God's peace deepens. Morning prayer builds emotional resilience against criticism. Words lose power. God strengthens identity. Resilience protects peace. Prayer reinforces truth. God guards self-worth. When criticism fades, calm remains. Prayer anchors confidence. God sustains assurance. A resilient heart stays steady. You remain grounded. God's peace prevails. Prayer encourages flexibility in plans. Control loosens. God reassures adaptability. Flexibility reduces frustration. Prayer builds trust. God handles change. When plans shift, peace holds. Prayer restores calm. God guides adjustments. A flexible heart adapts smoothly. You remain open. God's peace continues. Morning prayer deepens spiritual patience. Growth slows without anxiety. God teaches endurance. Patience develops gradually. Prayer reinforces trust. God sustains faith. When patience matures, peace stabilizes. Prayer removes urgency. God aligns timing. A patient heart rests well. You stay hopeful. God's peace remains strong. Prayer increases emotional clarity. You understand feelings better. God brings insight. Clarity reduces inner conflict. Prayer organizes emotions. God restores balance. When emotions are clear, peace grows. Prayer strengthens awareness. God guides responses. A clear-hearted spirit stays calm. You respond wisely. God's peace supports you. Morning prayer restores inner confidence. Doubt weakens. God affirms direction. Confidence grows through trust. Prayer reinforces belief. God sustains courage. When confidence rises, fear fades. Prayer stabilizes resolve. Peace follows assurance. A confident spirit moves freely. You act calmly. God's peace strengthens you. Prayer nurtures long-term faithfulness. Commitment deepens. God strengthens consistency. Faithfulness grows through routine. Prayer anchors devotion. God renews focus. When faithfulness holds, peace stabilizes. Prayer prevents drift. God sustains connection. A faithful heart remains grounded. You continue steadily. God's peace endures. Morning prayer increases openness to correction. Pride softens. God teaches gently. Correction brings growth. Prayer creates humility. God guides improvement. When correction is accepted, peace grows. Prayer removes defensiveness. God restores calm. A teachable heart learns quickly. You improve steadily. God's peace supports growth. Prayer strengthens emotional maturity. Reactions soften. God builds wisdom. Maturity reduces conflict. Prayer refines character. God shapes responses. When maturity grows, peace increases. Prayer steadies emotions. God sustains balance. A mature heart handles stress well. You remain calm. God's peace stays firm. Morning prayer deepens trust in daily strength. You stop fearing exhaustion. God supplies energy. Strength flows through dependence. Prayer invites renewal. God refreshes spirit. When strength is trusted, peace increases. Prayer removes anxiety. God sustains effort. A strengthened heart moves calmly. You endure steadily. God's peace remains. Prayer nurtures inner stillness. Noise fades. God creates quiet. Stillness sharpens awareness. Prayer slows the soul. God restores clarity. When stillness holds, peace deepens. Prayer anchors calm. God renews focus. A still heart rests deeply. You feel centered. God's peace surrounds you. Morning prayer enhances compassion for others. Judgment softens. God opens empathy. Compassion improves relationships. Prayer shifts perspective. God nurtures understanding. When compassion grows, peace increases. Prayer reduces tension. God strengthens kindness. A compassionate heart connects well. You respond gently. God's peace flows outward. Prayer strengthens hope during waiting seasons. Discouragement weakens. God renews vision. Hope grows through trust. Prayer fuels endurance. God sustains belief. When hope remains alive, peace increases. Prayer stabilizes expectation. God reassures timing. A hopeful heart persists calmly. You stay encouraged. God's peace endures. Morning prayer restores inner alignment with God's will. Resistance fades. God leads gently. Alignment reduces inner conflict. Prayer harmonizes desires. God clarifies purpose. When aligned, peace increases. Prayer confirms direction. God strengthens resolve. An aligned heart moves smoothly. You trust fully. God's peace completes the morning. Morning prayer encourages spiritual vigilance. Distractions fade when God is first. Prayer sharpens awareness for the day ahead. Peace grows when the heart is alert. Vigilance prevents mistakes. Prayer strengthens focus. God guides your attention quietly. Calm replaces rushed reactions. When vigilance is active, decisions are wiser. Prayer maintains clarity. God shapes each step thoughtfully. A watchful heart navigates smoothly. You notice opportunities. God's peace accompanies awareness. Prayer nurtures confidence in unseen outcomes. Worry about tomorrow decreases. God reassures each step. Trust replaces fear. Confidence grows when reliance on God is steady. Prayer builds inner assurance. Peace strengthens courage. When outcomes remain unseen, prayer steadies the soul. God orchestrates behind the scenes. Calm prevails. A trusting heart acts decisively. You remain grounded. God's peace shapes anticipation. Morning prayer restores emotional equilibrium. Stress dissipates. God balances the heart. Equilibrium protects against overreaction. Prayer centers emotions. God cultivates serenity. When balance is restored, clarity follows. Prayer guides choices. Peace becomes natural. A centered heart responds wisely. You remain calm. God's peace stabilizes emotions. Prayer deepens spiritual insight. Understanding grows. God illuminates unseen truths. Insight guides action. Prayer strengthens perception. God reveals subtleties gently. When spiritual awareness increases, decisions feel aligned. Prayer clarifies purpose. Peace follows guidance. An insightful heart walks carefully. You notice details. God's peace directs choices. Morning prayer invites humility in achievements. Pride softens. God centers the heart. Humility preserves peace. Prayer reduces pressure. God keeps perspective clear. When humility grows, satisfaction increases. Prayer aligns gratitude with God's plan. Peace remains steady. A humble heart moves gracefully. You celebrate without arrogance. God's peace endures. Prayer strengthens emotional patience with life's delays. Frustration fades. God builds endurance. Patience prevents hasty actions. Prayer slows impulses. God teaches steady waiting. When patience grows, peace increases. Prayer maintains calm. God reinforces trust. A patient heart responds wisely. You move with confidence. God's peace sustains persistence. Morning prayer increases self-reflection. You assess intentions. God clarifies motives. Reflection strengthens spiritual growth. Prayer opens the heart to learning. God guides understanding. When awareness grows, peace deepens. Prayer removes confusion. God restores alignment. A reflective heart acts deliberately. You proceed thoughtfully. God's peace stays strong. Prayer encourages readiness for challenges. Anxiety diminishes. God equips quietly. Preparedness reduces fear. Prayer strengthens resolve. God ensures capability. When readiness grows, peace emerges. Prayer maintains calm. God supports every effort. A ready heart faces trials confidently. You act intentionally. God's peace prevails. Morning prayer nurtures gratitude for God's protection. Awareness of safety grows. Peace increases naturally. Protection strengthens trust. Prayer highlights divine oversight. God reassures security. When gratitude aligns with protection, anxiety reduces. Prayer restores confidence. God strengthens heart. A thankful heart feels sheltered. You walk boldly. God's peace remains strong. Prayer builds resilience to criticism and negativity. Words lose control. God sustains courage. Resilience nurtures inner peace. Prayer stabilizes emotions. God reinforces strength. When negativity arises, prayer maintains calm. God restores focus. Peace becomes steady. A resilient heart remains unshaken. You respond wisely. God's peace governs reactions. Morning prayer strengthens hope in unseen blessings. Optimism grows. God reassures unseen plans. Hope inspires courage. Prayer fuels faith. God renews perspective. When hope is active, peace increases. Prayer reduces worry. God reinforces belief. A hopeful heart persists steadily. You move forward confidently. God's peace supports expectation. Prayer deepens awareness of divine timing. Impatience fades. God orchestrates moments. Timing shapes outcomes. Prayer aligns the heart. God sustains calm through waiting. When awareness of timing grows, peace strengthens. Prayer reduces anxiety. God provides reassurance. A patient heart trusts process. You act intentionally. God's peace accompanies patience. Morning prayer restores emotional rest. Overwhelm lifts. God refreshes the soul. Rest strengthens resilience. Prayer replenishes energy. God restores inner balance. When rest is present, peace emerges. Prayer renews focus. God stabilizes reactions. A rested heart acts calmly. You face challenges steadily. God's peace remains. Prayer encourages alignment of thoughts with God's will. Confusion fades. God clarifies purpose. Alignment creates inner harmony. Prayer synchronizes intentions. God directs decisions. When alignment grows, peace strengthens. Prayer confirms direction. God maintains balance. A harmonious mind responds wisely. You act intentionally. God's peace flows naturally. Morning prayer increases gratitude for opportunities. Awareness rises. God highlights blessings. Gratitude shifts attention from lack. Prayer renews perspective. God nurtures thankfulness. When gratitude is active, peace deepens. Prayer strengthens joy. God restores appreciation. A thankful heart moves confidently. You act with positivity. God's peace remains strong. Prayer nurtures courage to face uncertainties. Fear diminishes. God reassures steps. Courage grows through prayer. God strengthens resolve. Peace replaces hesitation. When fear fades, confidence increases. Prayer stabilizes emotions. God provides reassurance. A courageous heart proceeds calmly. You move forward intentionally. God's peace remains. Morning prayer strengthens trust in daily decisions. Doubt weakens. God reinforces choices. Trust encourages clarity. Prayer confirms direction. God sustains judgment. When trust grows, peace remains steady. Prayer anchors confidence. God affirms understanding. A trusting heart acts decisively. You remain grounded. God's peace prevails. Prayer increases spiritual sensitivity. Awareness of God's guidance sharpens. Peace follows clarity. Sensitivity guides interactions. Prayer reinforces listening. God directs discernment. When sensitivity grows, decisions align with peace. Prayer maintains focus. God strengthens wisdom. A sensitive heart walks carefully. You respond thoughtfully. God's peace sustains awareness. Morning prayer encourages humility in interactions. Pride softens. God nurtures gentle responses. Humility prevents conflict. Prayer shapes words. God restores perspective. When humility grows, peace increases. Prayer aligns conduct. God sustains calm. A humble heart communicates effectively. You interact graciously. God's peace strengthens relationships. Prayer restores hope in long-term goals. Discouragement weakens. God renews vision. Hope sustains motivation. Prayer strengthens patience. God reassures progress. When hope is active, peace follows. Prayer anchors optimism. God renews courage. A hopeful heart continues steadily. You stay focused. God's peace prevails. Morning prayer encourages emotional resilience. Stress decreases. God strengthens inner stability. Resilience prevents overwhelm. Prayer reinforces calm. God sustains perseverance. When resilience grows, peace increases. Prayer supports endurance. God restores energy. A resilient heart handles challenges wisely. You move forward intentionally. God's peace remains. Prayer strengthens consistency. In spiritual practices, faith grows steadily. God sustains devotion. Consistency prevents drift. Prayer anchors routine. God maintains connection. When consistency is active, peace stabilizes. Prayer confirms discipline. God ensures growth. A consistent heart remains grounded. You proceed steadily. God's peace endures. Morning prayer increases clarity and purpose. Confusion diminishes. God illuminates steps. Clarity strengthens focus. Prayer aligns priorities. God supports direction. When clarity grows, peace strengthens. Prayer removes uncertainty. God maintains guidance. A clear-hearted spirit moves confidently. You act with intention. God's peace remains. Prayer nurtures contentment with life's circumstances. Anxiety fades. God restores satisfaction. Contentment stabilizes emotions. Prayer shifts perspective. God fosters acceptance. When contentment grows, peace emerges. Prayer strengthens gratitude. God reinforces joy. A satisfied heart feels light. You enjoy each moment. God's peace remains strong. Morning prayer strengthens spiritual perseverance. Challenges feel manageable. God sustains endurance. Perseverance builds character. Prayer renews effort. God reinforces resolve. When perseverance holds, peace stabilizes. Prayer supports consistency. God maintains guidance. A persevering heart continues steadily. You face trials confidently. God's peace prevails. Morning prayer invites profound inner stillness. The noise of life pauses. God's presence fills the empty spaces of the soul. This stillness allows your mind to focus on what truly matters. Stillness in prayer prepares the heart for clarity. Thoughts become organized. God illuminates priorities. Decisions that once felt heavy now feel guided. When the soul experiences stillness, peace grows effortlessly. Prayer creates an internal refuge. You learn to move through the day calmly and intentionally. A still heart responds wisely to every challenge. God's peace settles deeply. You begin to act from purpose rather than reaction. Prayer strengthens emotional endurance. Life brings unforeseen challenges, but God equips the heart. Each morning spent in prayer fortifies your inner resilience, giving you the strength to face stress without fear. Endurance built through prayer keeps the mind steady. You experience less emotional volatility. God stabilizes reactions before situations escalate. When emotional endurance is active, daily trials feel manageable. Prayer prevents impulsive reactions. God fosters calm, steady responses that protect your inner peace. A resilient spirit faces difficulties without being overwhelmed. You maintain control of your emotions. God's peace becomes the foundation of every action. Morning prayer cultivates spiritual alignment. The heart syncs with God's will. You begin to notice areas of your life that require correction or attention. Alignment requires reflection and surrender. Prayer becomes the bridge between intentions and God's guidance. God brings subtle adjustments that keep your life in harmony. When spiritual alignment grows, decisions flow naturally. Prayer helps you discern opportunities and avoid distractions. Peace emerges as choices align with purpose. A heart aligned with God navigates challenges confidently. You act intentionally. God's peace guides every step, reinforcing purpose and clarity. Prayer enhances awareness of divine protection. Danger and negativity lose their grip when God is acknowledged early in the day. Spiritual covering begins with intentional prayer. Protection manifests in subtle ways. You notice cues that prevent harm or conflict. God shields emotional, spiritual, and mental well-being. When awareness of protection deepens, peace strengthens. Prayer increases vigilance without fear. God's presence reassures security in all circumstances. A protected heart moves freely and confidently. You act without unnecessary worry. God's peace envelops your day like a quiet shield. Morning prayer develops unwavering hope. Life can feel uncertain, but prayer refocuses the heart on God's promises. Hope becomes a steady flame that guides every action. Hope strengthens perseverance. Prayer reminds you that God is orchestrating outcomes even when circumstances appear challenging. When hope is nurtured, fear diminishes. Prayer shifts perspective from limitation to expectation. God reassures the heart that nothing is wasted. A hopeful heart faces trials calmly. You anticipate good with certainty. God's peace accompanies expectation, making hope a tangible daily experience. Prayer encourages humility in interactions. Pride often clouds judgment and generates tension, but prayer softens the heart and promotes grace in every relationship. Humility nurtured through prayer reduces conflict. God reminds you that your value does not depend on comparison or approval. When humility is present, peace dominates interactions. Prayer fosters understanding and patience, shaping responses that build harmony rather than division. A humble heart navigates the world with ease. You act thoughtfully and with kindness. God's peace is visible through the way you relate to others. Morning prayer strengthens inner courage. Facing challenges or confrontation becomes less intimidating when God fortifies the spirit early in the day. Courage is reinforced through prayer. God instills boldness tempered with wisdom, allowing you to act decisively without impulsiveness. When courage is cultivated, anxiety diminishes. Prayer empowers action that reflects faith rather than fear. Peace anchors each step. A courageous heart moves forward confidently. You respond intentionally to challenges. God's peace sustains bravery. Prayer nurtures spiritual clarity. Decisions become clearer. Confusion loses control as God illuminates direction and intention for the day ahead. Clarity gained in prayer reduces second guessing and hesitation. You are able to prioritize effectively. God strengthens discernment before challenges arise. When clarity is consistent, peace becomes effortless. Prayer anchors understanding, guiding actions with purpose. God's guidance is gentle yet firm. A clear-hearted spirit moves with precision. You act intentionally and without regret. God's peace fosters consistent wisdom. Morning prayer promotes contentment. Desires for unnecessary achievements fade. God teaches satisfaction through awareness and gratitude. Contentment nurtured in prayer protects emotional stability. You recognize blessings that often go unnoticed. God shifts focus from lack to abundance. When contentment grows, peace follows naturally. Prayer reduces the tendency to compare. God fosters gratitude that sustains joy. A content heart remains calm regardless of external circumstances. You act from fullness rather than emptiness. God's peace fills the day with quiet satisfaction. Prayer builds resilience against criticism. Negative words or opinions lose power when the heart is anchored in God through consistent morning devotion. Resilience develops slowly through reflection and prayer. God strengthens identity and reduces the impact of external judgment. When resilience is active, peace strengthens. Prayer allows you to maintain balance while facing negativity. God protects emotional stability. A resilient heart navigates criticism calmly. You respond with grace. God's peace remains unshakable. Morning prayer cultivates patience. Life often tests timing and expectations. Prayer strengthens the ability to wait without frustration. Patience nurtured through prayer prevents rash decisions. God teaches understanding and careful pacing in all matters. When patience grows, peace is strengthened. Prayer encourages calm acceptance of delays or setbacks. God fosters enduring trust. A patient heart faces each moment with composure. You remain steady and intentional. God's peace shapes perseverance. Prayer encourages mindfulness. Awareness of each thought, word, and action becomes heightened when the morning begins with God. Mindfulness nurtured in prayer fosters intentional living. You notice opportunities for growth, correction, and kindness. God guides discernment. When mindfulness is active, peace deepens. Prayer anchors presence in each task. God strengthens deliberate, purposeful living. A mindful heart moves intentionally through life. You act with clarity and focus. God's peace guides every decision. Morning prayer strengthens trust in God's unseen work. Outcomes are not always immediate, but prayer anchors faith that God is actively orchestrating results. Trust, nurtured through prayer, reduces anxiety. You learn to wait confidently for God's timing. Peace replaces worry. When trust becomes habitual, daily life feels lighter. Prayer reinforces patience and acceptance. God strengthens perseverance. A trusting heart moves confidently without fear of unknown outcomes. You act decisively and calmly. God's peace sustains expectation. Prayer develops emotional intelligence. You become aware of feelings and can manage responses wisely. God enhances understanding of self and others. Emotional intelligence, nurtured in prayer, reduces conflict. You handle challenges with grace. God strengthens interpersonal relationships. When emotional intelligence grows, peace deepens. Prayer stabilizes reactions and promotes harmony. God nurtures patience and understanding. A thoughtful heart navigates life calmly. You respond intentionally. God's peace maintains emotional balance. Morning prayer reinforces spiritual vigilance. Awareness of opportunities and threats increases. God prepares the heart for discernment. Vigilance nurtured through prayer prevents impulsive choices. God clarifies priorities and strengthens judgment before situations escalate. When vigilance is maintained, peace grows. Prayer ensures attentiveness without anxiety. God guides awareness. A watchful heart responds wisely. You act decisively. God's peace sustains discernment. Prayer strengthens joy. Even in small blessings, God's presence amplifies happiness. The morning becomes a celebration of life. Joy nurtured in prayer sustains emotional health. Gratitude and contentment emerge naturally. God reinforces positive focus. When joy is practiced daily, peace stabilizes. Prayer keeps the heart centered on what matters. God cultivates a steady sense of gladness. A joyful heart faces challenges with optimism. You radiate positivity. God's peace deepens daily satisfaction. Morning prayer enhances discernment. You recognize opportunities and risks clearly. God strengthens spiritual insight. Discernment nurtured in prayer prevents mistakes. You notice subtleties and avoid distractions. God reinforces wisdom. When discernment is active, peace grows. Prayer anchors clarity and intention. God ensures purposeful choices. A discerning heart walks confidently. You act thoughtfully. God's peace supports wise decisions. Prayer cultivates humility. Pride softens, and openness grows. God reshapes the spirit for better relationships in alignment with His will. Humility nurtured in prayer reduces internal tension. You stop competing unnecessarily. God fosters genuine interactions. When humility increases, peace dominates. Prayer strengthens acceptance and patience. God softens the heart to receive guidance. A humble heart navigates life gracefully. You act with intention and kindness. God's peace remains constant. Morning prayer deepens endurance. Challenges that once seemed overwhelming feel manageable. God strengthens resolve. Endurance built in prayer sustains consistent effort. You face obstacles without emotional burnout. God provides ongoing support. When endurance is strengthened, peace flows naturally. Prayer reinforces steady commitment. God maintains energy and focus. A persevering heart continues steadily. You act with faith and intentionality. God's peace supports long-term resilience. Prayer restores spiritual alignment after emotional disturbance. God recalibrates priorities. Clarity replaces confusion. Alignment nurtured through prayer strengthens decision-making. God's guidance illuminates next steps. Peace grows in awareness. When spiritual alignment is active, daily life feels harmonious. Prayer restores perspective. God stabilizes the heart. A realigned spirit moves calmly and confidently. You act purposefully. God's peace governs the day. Morning prayer nurtures gratitude for God's faithfulness. Recognizing blessings reduces stress. Appreciation grows naturally. Gratitude practiced daily enhances peace. Prayer reminds the heart of ongoing provision. God reinforces positive focus. When gratitude deepens, joy becomes consistent. Prayer strengthens acknowledgement of life's goodness. Peace remains stable. A thankful heart moves intentionally. You approach life with contentment. God's peace remains steadfast. Prayer strengthens inner security. Fear and doubt lose influence. God reassures and protects quietly. Security, nurtured through prayer, stabilizes emotions. You trust God's oversight and provision. Peace follows confidence. When security grows, worry diminishes. Prayer anchors faith. God maintains calm assurance. A secure heart faces challenges boldly. You act without hesitation. God's peace surrounds and sustains. Morning prayer fosters empathy. Awareness of others' feelings deepens. God nurtures understanding and patience. Empathy nurtured in prayer improves relationships. You communicate with gentleness. God enhances connection. When empathy grows, peace is maintained. Prayer increases tolerance. God reduces conflict. An empathetic heart navigates life gracefully. You respond thoughtfully. God's peace reinforces compassion. Prayer nurtures trust in God's protection through unseen circumstances. Anxiety diminishes. God's presence reassures every step. Protection cultivated in prayer prevents fear from dominating thoughts. You remain calm amidst uncertainty. God strengthens vigilance. When trust in protection grows, peace flourishes. Prayer stabilizes the mind and heart. God secures stability. A trusting heart walks confidently. You act without fear. God's peace accompanies each movement. Morning prayer encourages patience with life's processes. Impatience fades. God teaches timing and perseverance. Patience, nurtured in prayer, reduces frustration. You accept the pace of events. God reinforces calm endurance. When patience becomes habitual, peace strengthens. Prayer anchors trust in God's plan. Stress diminishes. A patient heart navigates challenges steadily. You act intentionally. God's peace remains present in every situation. Morning prayer strengthens faith in unseen outcomes. You begin the day confident that God is working behind the scenes. Doubt diminishes and trust grows naturally. Faith nurtured in prayer provides stability. Even when circumstances are unclear, God reassures progress and fills the heart with hope. When faith leads the morning, peace becomes effortless. Prayer anchors the spirit, reducing worry about the future. God strengthens resilience quietly but powerfully. A faithful heart walks steadily through uncertainty. You act with purpose. God's peace surrounds every decision and step. Prayer fosters contentment with the present moment. Anxiety about the past or future fades. God restores satisfaction and balance. Contentment nurtured in prayer reduces longing and comparison. You recognize the blessings already present. God fosters gratitude that sustains joy. When contentment grows, peace becomes constant. Prayer reinforces acceptance and awareness. God calms the restless mind. A content heart embraces today fully. You live intentionally and calmly. God's peace strengthens your perspective. Morning prayer cultivates discernment in relationships. You recognize supportive and toxic influences. God provides clarity for wise interaction. Discernment nurtured in prayer reduces conflict and protects emotional energy. God helps prioritize healthy boundaries. When discernment is active, peace grows. Prayer strengthens decision-making regarding connections. God ensures safe, harmonious relationships. A discerning heart engages wisely. You interact thoughtfully. God's peace maintains balance in every encounter. Prayer nurtures patience through life's delays. Immediate results no longer dominate the heart. God teaches the value of timing and trust. Patience nurtured in prayer stabilizes emotions. You face delays without frustration. God fosters calm perseverance. When patience is practiced, peace flows naturally. Prayer anchors trust and reduces anxiety. God strengthens endurance. A patient heart acts deliberately. You maintain composure. God's peace governs timing and expectation. Morning prayer builds courage to take necessary steps. Fear and hesitation decrease. God reassures the heart with each decision. Courage, strengthened in prayer, allows action even in uncertainty. God provides the strength to persevere confidently. When courage is active, peace anchors choices. Prayer reduces self-doubt. God reinforces confidence in each step. A courageous heart moves forward deliberately. You act intentionally. God's peace surrounds every initiative. Prayer increases mindfulness in daily life. Each moment becomes clearer. God enhances focus on what truly matters. Mindfulness nurtured in prayer reduces distractions. Thoughts become orderly. God guides priorities calmly. When mindfulness is present, peace stabilizes. Prayer anchors attention in the now. God strengthens purposeful living. A mindful heart responds thoughtfully. You act with awareness. God's peace sustains intentional decisions. Morning prayer fosters resilience against emotional turbulence. Upsets and challenges feel less overwhelming. God restores balance. Resilience, nurtured in prayer, strengthens stability. You respond with calm instead of reaction. God renews inner strength. When resilience is active, peace flows naturally. Prayer reduces vulnerability to stress. God supports steady progress. A resilient heart navigates life calmly. You remain composed. God's peace remains unshakable. Prayer cultivates clarity and purpose. Confusion fades. God illuminates priorities and next steps for the day. Clarity nurtured in prayer directs energy wisely. Decisions align with God's guidance. Peace strengthens as focus sharpens. When clarity increases, peace dominates choices. Prayer anchors understanding. God maintains alignment. A clear-hearted spirit acts confidently. You proceed intentionally. God's peace guides every action. Morning prayer nurtures gratitude for opportunities. Awareness of blessings increases. God highlights every positive aspect. Gratitude nurtured in prayer shifts perspective from lack to abundance. Peace grows naturally. God reinforces thankfulness. When gratitude is practiced, joy stabilizes. Prayer anchors appreciation. God strengthens focus on goodness. A grateful heart moves intentionally. You notice blessings and act positively. God's peace remains steadfast. Prayer encourages letting go of burdens. Emotional weight lifts. God restores freedom to the spirit. Letting go nurtured in prayer reduces stress and anxiety. You release control gracefully. God fosters inner liberation. When burdens are surrendered, peace deepens. Prayer reinforces calm and acceptance. God restores focus and clarity. A liberated heart acts lightly. You move forward freely. God's peace strengthens resilience. Morning prayer strengthens confidence in God's plan. Doubt diminishes. You trust that every step is guided. Confidence nurtured in prayer stabilizes emotions. God provides assurance even when outcomes seem unclear. When trust in God's plan grows, peace becomes effortless. Prayer anchors hope and purpose. God supports every decision. A confident heart navigates life steadily. You act intentionally. God's peace surrounds you. Prayer develops emotional balance. Reactions are moderated. God nurtures calm responses in every circumstance. Balance nurtured in prayer prevents emotional extremes. You handle situations thoughtfully. God fosters inner steadiness. When emotional balance is active, peace strengthens. Prayer anchors equilibrium. God maintains clarity. A balanced heart responds wisely. You navigate life with calm. God's peace is constant. Morning prayer encourages spiritual attentiveness. Awareness of God's guidance deepens. Subtle cues become clearer. Attentiveness nurtured in prayer increases clarity. You notice opportunities and avoid distractions. God strengthens insight. When attentiveness is present, peace grows. Prayer reinforces focus and responsiveness. God maintains alignment. An attentive heart acts purposefully. You respond with awareness. God's peace guides every decision. Prayer fosters joy rooted in God's presence. Happiness rises naturally. Gratitude increases without effort. Joy nurtured in prayer sustains motivation and reduces stress. God restores a cheerful perspective. When joy is anchored, peace stabilizes. Prayer strengthens emotional resilience. God reinforces contentment. A joyful heart approaches life optimistically. You remain calm and intentional. God's peace radiates outward. Morning prayer strengthens perseverance. Challenges feel manageable. God restores energy for consistent effort. Perseverance nurtured in prayer encourages steady progress. Obstacles are met with calm determination. God reinforces resilience. When perseverance is active, peace flows naturally. Prayer supports patience and focus. God sustains the spirit. A persevering heart continues steadfastly. You act deliberately. God's peace governs endurance. Prayer fosters humility in achievement. Pride softens. God centers the heart for balanced perspective. Humility, nurtured in prayer, reduces tension and fosters gratitude. You recognize value in service and contribution. God reinforces perspective. When humility is active, peace dominates interactions. Prayer strengthens inner calm. God maintains contentment. A humble heart navigates life gracefully. You respond intentionally. God's peace strengthens relationships. Morning prayer restores hope in long-term goals. Discouragement diminishes. God renews focus on purpose. Hope nurtured in prayer sustains motivation. Challenges feel lighter. God strengthens perseverance. When hope grows, peace increases. Prayer anchors confidence in God's plan. Outcomes feel guided. A hopeful heart moves steadily. You act deliberately. God's peace remains constant. Prayer nurtures spiritual consistency. Faith remains steady. God reinforces daily commitment. Consistency nurtured in prayer anchors focus. Daily habits align with purpose. God ensures progress. When spiritual consistency is active, peace stabilizes. Prayer prevents drift. God maintains devotion. A consistent heart navigates life calmly. You act intentionally. God's peace governs daily routines. Morning prayer strengthens. Focus on what truly matters. Distractions lose influence. God clarifies priorities. Focus nurtured in prayer enhances productivity. Energy aligns with purpose. God provides guidance. When focus is maintained, peace dominates. Prayer anchors clarity. God reinforces alignment. A focused heart acts wisely. You achieve goals calmly. God's peace remains with every step. Prayer prepares the heart for protection, joy, and provision. Spiritual armor is reinforced. God ensures guidance through challenges. Preparation, nurtured in prayer, strengthens resilience. You feel equipped for the day. God restores confidence and courage. When preparation is active, peace flourishes. Prayer aligns actions with purpose. God sustains strength and joy. A prepared heart moves confidently. You act deliberately. God's peace guides, protects, and empowers every choice. Morning prayer strengthens spiritual resilience. Difficult situations no longer overwhelm you. God fortifies the heart with courage and peace. Each prayer aligns your energy with divine guidance. Resilience nurtured in prayer allows for calm responses. You face challenges without panic. God provides steady support for every trial. When resilience grows, peace dominates your day. Prayer anchors your mind in confidence. God ensures strength in decisions. A resilient heart moves steadily. You act intentionally. God's peace protects and sustains every step. Prayer cultivates gratitude for life's small blessings. Each morning begins with awareness of God's goodness. Joy naturally rises when gratitude is practiced consistently. Gratitude nurtured in prayer shifts focus from lack to abundance. You notice opportunities and appreciate provision. God strengthens contentment. When gratitude is active, peace flows naturally. Prayer reminds you of unseen blessings. God deepens joy in your heart. A grateful heart responds calmly. You act positively. God's peace radiates throughout your day. Morning prayer encourages mindfulness and presence. The mind focuses on what matters. God guides attention and removes distractions. Mindfulness nurtured in prayer allows for deliberate and intentional choices. You see opportunities clearly. God strengthens focus on priorities. When mindfulness grows, peace deepens. Prayer anchors awareness. God guides each step thoughtfully. A mindful heart walks deliberately. You respond intentionally. God's peace sustains clarity. Prayer fosters inner calm in moments of stress. Anxiety diminishes as God reassures the heart. Peace replaces fear naturally. Calm nurtured in prayer stabilizes reactions. You respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. God restores emotional balance. When calm is consistent, peace governs the day. Prayer anchors focus and prevents chaos. God strengthens every decision. A calm heart faces challenges with confidence. You move intentionally. God's peace remains unshakable. Morning prayer strengthens trust in God's plan. Uncertainty no longer dominates. God directs your path with wisdom and care. Trust nurtured in prayer reduces worry. Decisions become confident and deliberate. God provides reassurance quietly. When trust is active, peace deepens naturally. Prayer reinforces faith in every choice. God strengthens endurance. A trusting heart acts decisively. You remain grounded. God's peace guides every step. Prayer nurtures emotional intelligence. Awareness of feelings and responses improves. God guides understanding of self and others. Emotional intelligence cultivated in prayer reduces conflict. Relationships flourish naturally. God strengthens communication and empathy. When emotional intelligence grows, peace dominates interactions. Prayer anchors maturity and understanding. God nurtures composure. A thoughtful heart navigates life wisely. You respond calmly. God's peace governs emotional balance. Morning prayer strengthens patience. You accept delays with grace. God teaches timing and endurance in every situation. Patience nurtured in prayer prevents impulsive reactions. You wait confidently for God's plan. Peace replaces frustration. When patience grows, peace stabilizes naturally. Prayer anchors calm acceptance. God sustains endurance and hope. A patient heart faces challenges steadily. You act deliberately. God's peace guides every moment. Prayer fosters clarity in decision-making. Confusion fades as God illuminates the mind. Choices become guided by wisdom. Clarity nurtured in prayer reduces hesitation and second-guessing. You prioritize effectively. God strengthens focus and direction. When clarity is active, peace dominates. Prayer ensures decisions are aligned with divine guidance. God reinforces purposeful living. A clear-hearted spirit moves confidently. You act intentionally. God's peace stabilizes each step. Morning prayer encourages resilience against fear. Anxiety diminishes as God strengthens faith. Confidence grows naturally. Resilience nurtured in prayer protects against discouragement. You remain calm under pressure. God provides courage to act. When resilience is active, peace governs your responses. Prayer anchors inner security. God strengthens emotional stability. A courageous heart faces uncertainty calmly. You respond wisely. God's peace sustains strength. Prayer nurtures joy in everyday moments. Gratitude amplifies happiness. God restores optimism and contentment. Joy cultivated in prayer improves mental and emotional health. You notice blessings easily. God reinforces positivity. When joy grows, peace becomes consistent. Prayer strengthens awareness of life's beauty. God nurtures steady contentment. A joyful heart moves intentionally. You act calmly and confidently. God's peace radiates throughout the day. Morning prayer restores hope in long-term goals. Discouragement fades. God strengthens perseverance and vision. Hope nurtured in prayer motivates steady effort. You focus on progress rather than obstacles. God encourages endurance. When hope is active, peace stabilizes. Prayer anchors belief in God's timing. God sustains optimism and faith. A hopeful heart continues steadily. You act intentionally. God's peace reinforces every step. Prayer strengthens focus. Daily distractions fade. God clarifies priorities and intentions. Focus nurtured in prayer enhances productivity. Energy aligns with purpose. God guides each decision. When focus is maintained, peace dominates your actions. Prayer anchors clarity. God ensures purposeful results. A focused heart acts wisely. You achieve goals calmly. God's peace governs every choice. Morning prayer cultivates emotional stability. Reactions are moderated. God restores balance and harmony. Stability nurtured in prayer prevents rash decisions. Emotions are regulated. God strengthens composure. When emotional balance grows, peace strengthens naturally. Prayer anchors calmness. God maintains clarity. A balanced heart moves deliberately. You respond thoughtfully. God's peace guides interactions. Prayer nurtures spiritual attentiveness. Awareness of God's guidance sharpens. Subtle cues are easier to notice. Attentiveness cultivated in prayer reduces mistakes. God strengthens discernment. Daily choices become more purposeful. When attentiveness grows, peace emerges naturally. Prayer anchors awareness and focus. God sustains guidance. An attentive heart walks confidently. You act intentionally. God's peace surrounds every decision. Morning prayer develops emotional endurance. Challenges feel less overwhelming. God strengthens courage and resilience. Endurance nurtured in prayer provides calm strength. You face difficulty with composure. God sustains effort steadily. When endurance is active, peace dominates naturally. Prayer reinforces strength and perseverance. God ensures stability. A steady heart moves confidently. You act deliberately. God's peace governs resilience. Prayer encourages gratitude for unseen blessings. Awareness deepens. God reveals subtle daily gifts. Gratitude, nurtured in prayer, improves mental clarity. You notice provision that often goes unnoticed. God strengthens contentment. When gratitude is active, peace flows effortlessly. Prayer anchors thankfulness. God reinforces joy. A grateful heart moves intentionally. You act with purpose. God's peace supports happiness. Morning prayer nurtures mindfulness in every activity. Attention to the present strengthens. God guides each thought and action. Mindfulness nurtured in prayer prevents distractions and promotes clarity. You respond thoughtfully. God strengthens awareness. When mindfulness is present, peace deepens. Prayer anchors each action in intention. God ensures purpose is honored. A mindful heart acts deliberately. You respond calmly. God's peace supports focus. Prayer fosters courage to face uncertainty. Fear diminishes as God reinforces confidence. Peace strengthens naturally. Courage nurtured in prayer allows bold action with wisdom. God ensures direction even in ambiguity. When courage grows, peace remains steady. Prayer anchors faith over fear. God strengthens initiative. A courageous heart moves decisively. You act intentionally. God's peace surrounds each step. Morning prayer strengthens spiritual clarity. Confusion disappears. God illuminates priorities and choices. Clarity nurtured in prayer stabilizes decisions. Focus aligns with God's guidance. Peace naturally follows understanding. When clarity grows, inner calm increases. Prayer reinforces alignment with purpose. God maintains direction. A clear-hearted spirit acts confidently. You respond intentionally. God's peace governs decisions. Prayer nurtures humility and accomplishments. Pride softens. God centers the heart and restores perspective. Humility cultivated in prayer reduces stress and comparison. Gratitude for God's provision grows. When humility increases, peace dominates interactions. Prayer reinforces balance and acceptance. God fosters contentment. A humble heart navigates life gracefully. You act intentionally. God's peace strengthens relationships. Morning prayer enhances spiritual endurance. Challenges no longer feel overwhelming. God strengthens perseverance steadily. Endurance nurtured in prayer supports consistent effort. You face obstacles with confidence. God restores energy. When endurance is active, peace flows naturally. Prayer stabilizes motivation and determination. God strengthens resolve. A persevering heart continues steadily. You act deliberately. God's peace sustains energy and focus. Prayer encourages awareness of divine timing. Impatience fades. God orchestrates moments for optimal outcomes. Awareness nurtured in prayer prevents rushed decisions. You trust God's timing. Peace replaces urgency. When divine timing is recognized, patience grows. Prayer anchors trust. God strengthens alignment with purpose. A patient heart moves intentionally. You act wisely. God's peace governs the pace of life. Morning prayer strengthens inner focus. Distractions diminish. God clarifies intention and purpose. Focus nurtured in prayer enhances productivity and alignment. Energy flows to meaningful tasks. God reinforces awareness. When focus grows, peace dominates decisions. Prayer anchors clarity. God strengthens resolve. A focused heart acts deliberately. You respond intentionally. God's peace guides every step. Prayer nurtures joy, rooted in God's presence. Happiness grows naturally. Gratitude amplifies contentment. Joy cultivated in prayer improves emotional resilience. God strengthens perspective on life's blessings. When joy is active, peace stabilizes. Prayer reinforces consistent positivity. God nurtures satisfaction. A joyful heart approaches life with optimism. You act calmly. God's peace radiates outward. Morning prayer cultivates patience and perseverance. Delays no longer frustrate. God teaches timing and persistence. Patience nurtured in prayer strengthens endurance. You wait confidently. God fosters calm perseverance. When perseverance is active, peace flows naturally. Prayer anchors steadfastness. God sustains commitment. A patient heart navigates life intentionally. You act steadily. God's peace governs persistence. Prayer nurtures spiritual attentiveness. God's guidance becomes more obvious. Awareness deepens throughout the day. Attentiveness nurtured in prayer reduces errors and strengthens intuition. You notice subtle cues. God maintains focus. When spiritual awareness grows, peace strengthens. Prayer anchors mindfulness. God ensures purposeful action. An attentive heart acts with clarity. You respond intentionally. God's peace guides every choice. Morning prayer restores inner calm. Anxiety diminishes. God's presence stabilizes the heart. Calm nurtured in prayer fosters thoughtful reactions. You respond with wisdom rather than emotion. God strengthens composure. When calm is active, peace dominates. Prayer anchors stability. God maintains serenity in every situation. A calm heart navigates challenges confidently. You act intentionally. God's peace governs responses. Prayer cultivates hope in God's plan. Discouragement fades. Trust strengthens steadily throughout the day. Hope nurtured in prayer reinforces perseverance. God provides assurance for every challenge. Peace grows naturally. When hope is active, patience flows easily. Prayer anchors faith. God strengthens confidence in outcomes. A hopeful heart acts steadily. You respond intentionally. God's peace sustains expectation. Morning prayer nurtures focus on blessings. Gratitude becomes natural. God highlights goodness in all situations. Focus on blessings nurtured in prayer stabilizes perspective. Stress diminishes. Joy increases. God restores contentment. When focus is maintained, peace dominates. Prayer anchors appreciation. God strengthens awareness of abundance. A grateful heart moves intentionally. You act with confidence. God's peace radiates steadily. Prayer encourages emotional intelligence. Awareness of feelings grows. God strengthens wisdom in handling situations. Emotional intelligence nurtured in prayer reduces conflicts. You respond thoughtfully. God enhances discernment and empathy. When emotional intelligence is active, peace strengthens naturally. Prayer anchors emotional balance. God guides measured responses. A thoughtful heart navigates life calmly. You act intentionally. God's peace governs emotions. Morning prayer restores inner alignment. God reorders priorities. Confusion fades. Decisions flow with purpose. Alignment nurtured in prayer strengthens spiritual clarity. God reinforces understanding and direction. Peace follows naturally. When alignment is active, peace dominates. Prayer anchors intention. God sustains discernment. A realigned heart moves confidently. You respond intentionally. God's peace governs choices. Prayer nurtures courage to face challenges. Fear diminishes. God strengthens faith and confidence in every step. Courage nurtured in prayer allows action despite uncertainty. You move with confidence. God reinforces resilience. When courage is active, peace flows naturally. Prayer anchors boldness in wisdom. God sustains composure. A courageous heart acts decisively. You respond intentionally. God's peace surrounds every move. Morning prayer cultivates spiritual focus. Distractions lose influence. God clarifies attention for productive living. Focus nurtured in prayer strengthens alignment with purpose. Energy and decisions flow intentionally. God maintains guidance. When focus is active, peace stabilizes. Prayer anchors awareness. God strengthens resolve. A focused heart walks deliberately. You act thoughtfully. God's peace governs every choice. Prayer nurtures emotional resilience. Setbacks no longer shake the heart. God restores composure and stability. Resilience, nurtured in prayer, strengthens perseverance. You face challenges calmly. God reinforces courage and peace. When resilience is active, peace dominates reactions. Prayer anchors balance. God sustains confidence. A resilient heart moves intentionally. You respond calmly. God's peace governs emotional strength. Morning prayer restores hope, focus, and joy. God renews energy. Peace dominates the heart. Hope nurtured in prayer strengthens vision. Focus increases. Joy becomes consistent. God reinforces balance. When prayer is practiced consistently, peace flows naturally. Life feels aligned with purpose. God strengthens confidence in every step. A heart rooted in prayer walks intentionally. You respond thoughtfully. God's peace sustains protection, joy, and provision. Morning prayer nurtures spiritual patience. The heart learns to wait without frustration. God teaches timing and calm persistence. Each prayer anchors the spirit in enduring peace. Patience cultivated in prayer allows challenges to pass without stress. You accept God's timing for outcomes. Anxiety diminishes naturally. When patience grows, peace flows effortlessly. Prayer anchors faith in the process. God restores calm in the midst of uncertainty. A patient heart faces life deliberately. You respond intentionally. God's peace governs every step. Prayer strengthens discernment in daily decisions. The mind recognizes opportunities and avoids distractions. God illuminates the path clearly. Discernment, nurtured in prayer, prevents mistakes and missteps. You act wisely, making choices aligned with purpose. God reinforces understanding when discernment is active. Peace stabilizes. Prayer anchors clarity. God ensures your choices are intentional and effective. A discerning heart moves confidently. You respond thoughtfully. God's peace strengthens judgment. Morning prayer fosters resilience against emotional challenges. Life's ups and downs feel manageable. God fortifies the spirit with steady calm. Resilience nurtured in prayer ensures thoughtful responses. You face difficulties without panic. God reinforces composure in every trial. When resilience is active, peace dominates naturally. Prayer strengthens endurance. God sustains inner strength. A resilient heart moves deliberately. You act confidently. God's peace governs emotional stability. Prayer cultivates joy rooted in gratitude. The heart notices life's blessings more clearly. God amplifies happiness through consistent reflection. Joy nurtured in prayer stabilizes emotions and reduces stress. You naturally find delight in small moments. God reinforces positive focus. When joy is present, peace flows easily. Prayer anchors contentment and satisfaction. God sustains emotional balance. A joyful heart moves intentionally. You act calmly. God's peace radiates through every interaction. Morning prayer strengthens trust in God's guidance. Doubt diminishes. You move confidently, knowing God directs every step. Trust, nurtured in prayer, provides inner stability. Decisions are guided with clarity. God strengthens focus and reassurance. When trust is active, peace flows effortlessly. Prayer anchors faith in unseen work. God sustains composure in uncertainty. A trusting heart acts intentionally. You respond wisely. God's peace surrounds every moment. Prayer fosters spiritual alignment with God's will. Priorities become clearer. The heart adjusts naturally to divine purpose. Alignment nurtured in prayer reduces internal conflict. You act intentionally and with purpose. God guides each choice. When alignment is consistent, peace strengthens. Prayer anchors direction and focus. God reinforces purposeful living. A realigned heart moves deliberately. You respond thoughtfully. God's peace governs every decision. Morning prayer encourages emotional balance. Extremes of mood diminish. God restores stability and calm. Balance nurtured in prayer allows thoughtful responses. You navigate challenges without overreaction. God strengthens composure. When emotional balance is active, peace flows naturally. Prayer anchors equilibrium and mindfulness. God maintains steady strength. A balanced heart moves intentionally. You act deliberately. God's peace guides emotions. Prayer nurtures courage to take intentional steps. Fear diminishes. God strengthens the heart for bold yet wise action. Courage cultivated in prayer allows facing uncertainty confidently. God reinforces stability and trust in outcomes. When courage is active, peace flows steadily. Prayer anchors determination and faith. God sustains confidence in each choice. A courageous heart acts with purpose. You respond decisively. God's peace surrounds every initiative. Morning prayer strengthens focus on divine provision. Anxiety about lack fades. God reassures abundance and guidance. Focus nurtured in prayer allows recognition of opportunities. You act intentionally with confidence. God provides clarity. When focus is present, peace becomes effortless. Prayer anchors trust in God's provision. God strengthens awareness of blessings. A focused heart moves deliberately. You respond wisely. God's peace ensures security and clarity. Prayer nurtures spiritual awareness. God's guidance becomes easier to recognize. Awareness deepens intuition and decision-making. Awareness cultivated in prayer reduces mistakes. You respond to situations thoughtfully. God strengthens insight and preparedness. When awareness grows, peace stabilizes naturally. Prayer anchors attentiveness. God ensures purposeful action. An aware heart acts intentionally. You respond calmly. God's peace governs every choice. Morning prayer encourages hope, even in difficult circumstances. Discouragement fades. God restores focus on purpose and faith. Hope, nurtured in prayer, strengthens perseverance. Challenges feel manageable. God reinforces courage and optimism. When hope is active, peace flows naturally. Prayer anchors resilience and expectation. God sustains trust in His plan. A hopeful heart acts steadily. You respond intentionally. God's peace surrounds every step. Prayer fosters emotional intelligence. Understanding self and others improves. God strengthens awareness and relational wisdom. Emotional intelligence nurtured in prayer reduces conflict. Responses are thoughtful and intentional. God reinforces clarity and empathy. When emotional intelligence grows, peace dominates interactions. Prayer anchors stability. God strengthens calm discernment. A thoughtful heart navigates life wisely. You act deliberately. God's peace sustains relationships. Morning prayer restores spiritual resilience. Stressful events feel manageable. God fortifies faith and endurance. Resilience nurtured in prayer strengthens perseverance. Challenges are met with calm determination. God reinforces steady focus. When resilience is active, peace dominates naturally. Prayer anchors composure. God maintains inner strength. A resilient heart moves confidently. You act intentionally. God's peace governs perseverance. Prayer nurtures gratitude for daily provision. Awareness of God's blessings increases. Appreciation grows naturally. Gratitude cultivated in prayer improves mental clarity and joy. You notice opportunities in abundance. God reinforces contentment. When gratitude is active, peace flows easily. Prayer anchors appreciation. God sustains emotional stability. A grateful heart acts intentionally. You respond with joy. God's peace radiates through life. Morning prayer strengthens patience in waiting. Life's timing becomes easier to accept. God teaches endurance and calm expectation. Patience nurtured in prayer stabilizes the mind. You respond thoughtfully to delays. God reinforces peace. When patience is active, peace dominates naturally. Prayer anchors trust. God strengthens perseverance. A patient heart moves deliberately. You act wisely. God's peace governs waiting. Prayer cultivates clarity in purpose. Confusion diminishes. God illuminates priorities for the day ahead. Clarity, nurtured in prayer, improves decision-making. Actions align with intention. God strengthens focus. When clarity is present, peace flows effortlessly. Prayer anchors understanding. God guides each step. A clear-hearted spirit acts confidently. You respond intentionally. God's peace governs choices. Morning prayer encourages emotional stability. Extremes of reaction reduce. God restores inner calm and composure. Stability, nurtured in prayer, allows thoughtful responses. You act intentionally, not impulsively. God reinforces resilience. When emotional stability is active, peace strengthens naturally. Prayer anchors balance. God sustains wisdom. A balanced heart moves deliberately. You respond calmly. God's peace governs emotional control. Prayer strengthens courage for daily challenges. Fear diminishes. God empowers confidence and faith. Courage nurtured in prayer allows bold and wise actions. You face uncertainty confidently. God reinforces strength and clarity. When courage is present, peace flows naturally. Prayer anchors determination. God sustains boldness. A courageous heart acts intentionally. You respond decisively. God's peace surrounds every step. Morning prayer nurtures joy, rooted in God's presence. Gratitude amplifies happiness. Daily satisfaction strengthens naturally. Joy cultivated in prayer enhances emotional resilience. You notice blessings even in small things. God reinforces contentment. When joy is active, peace dominates the heart. Prayer anchors positivity and awareness. God sustains consistent delight. A joyful heart moves deliberately. You act intentionally. God's peace radiates in every interaction. Prayer strengthens spiritual alignment and readiness. The heart is prepared for opportunities, challenges, and divine guidance. Alignment nurtured in prayer clarifies priorities. Decisions flow naturally. God reinforces purpose and focus. When alignment is active, peace flows effortlessly. Prayer anchors intentional action. God strengthens every choice. A prepared heart moves confidently. You respond wisely. God's peace sustains protection, joy, and divine guidance. Starting your day with God transforms life completely. Morning prayer anchors the heart in peace, joy, and protection. Each moment spent in devotion strengthens faith, sharpens focus, and restores emotional balance. God's presence guides your steps, decisions, and responses, creating alignment with His divine purpose. Prayer nurtures resilience, patience, courage, and gratitude. Life's challenges become manageable. Anxiety diminishes. Hope grows. Joy and contentment emerge naturally. Spiritual clarity becomes consistent, and peace becomes the foundation of every action. Consistency in morning prayer produces lasting transformation. Your heart becomes steady, your mind focused, and your spirit resilient. Opportunities are recognized. Relationships are strengthened. Decisions are intentional. Every step aligns with God's guidance. When you start each day with God, peace is unwavering, joy is abundant, and protection is assured. Morning prayer equips you to live intentionally, act decisively, and embrace God's plan confidently. Let prayer be your foundation, and watch your life flourish in His abundant peace, joy, and divine guidance.